This is Binghamton Now on News Radio 1290 WNBF Binghamton and WNBF.com.
I'm Bob Joseph. Today is Friday, November 22nd, 2024. What's up? We'll find out in the next 3 hours. And we look forward to your contributions. If you would like to call, go ahead, make that call. 607-772-1290. WNBF. And as we take to the air on this Friday morning, it is a pleasure to say welcome. Welcome to winter in Binghamton, beautiful Binghamton, New York, and upstate America. It's a wintry wonderland. Of course, winter itself, calendar winter, will not begin for another month or so, but it feels like winter, and hope you're safe and sound and taking appropriate precautions as we enjoy a little bit of snow across the region. No major problems reported in the Triple Cities right now. If you are in some of the outlying areas, maybe you are experiencing some problems. I can say one true issue right now: power outages. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of NYSEG customers don't have their power. Tens of thousands of NYSEG customers are without power at the moment, but I'm sure the crews will have power restored as soon as possible. Start taking calls now. We'll squeeze in as many calls as possible this morning. Congratulations, you're caller number one. What's your first name and where are you calling from?
Well, good morning. It's Linda from Binghamton. And I wanted to be the first caller because I think today is a special day. I think you know why. What happened 61 years ago today?
Yeah, one of the worst tragedies that ever happened in America.
John F. Kennedy.
Yeah, Dallas, Texas.
Yep, in 1963.
Yeah.
So I just thought I would call and bring that up. I thought he was wonderful, and I loved the slogan that he was famous for. And I'm thinking if all our politicians would use that today, it might be better for everybody. Do you remember what that was?
Ask not what your country can do for you.
You got it.
Ask what you can do for your country.
Correct. So I just thought it'd be a nice opening phone call to honor JFK.
I agree. We'll dedicate this program to the memory of John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
And thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you. It's 9:13 WNBF. He was a great American. November 22nd, 1963. Sitting at home in Edwell, watching as the world turns. And then we heard the voice of the most trusted person in America, Walter Cronkite, breaking the news, the flash apparently official. Announcing to Americans and to the world that President John F. Kennedy had been assassinated in Dallas, Texas. Tragic. Look back on some of those very specific days of our lives. I guess for my life, that was probably the first, aside from when I made my debut on Binghamton's West Side. Of course, that was a pretty big day. But as a young person growing up in Endwell and not fully appreciating the gravity of the situation, I mean, I knew it was serious, but I don't think I understood just how serious it was that the President of the United States had been killed, and the Texas governor had been wounded. It's 9:15 at News Radio, WNBF and WNBF.com. Program note. Our plan for next Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, is to invite listeners to talk about music. The program will not be limited to musical discussion, but I know many of our regular listeners and callers have a real affinity for music, so if you have things you'd like to talk about, whether it's about your musical memories from yesteryear, popular music, or even what goes on now, because there is a vibrant music scene here around the Binghamton area, so we can plan to talk about music as well as some other things next Wednesday here on the program. It's 9:16 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
The mayor of Vestal.
Good morning.
How old were you in 63? I think 4, right?
I don't remember exactly. About 4.
Well, you were attuned to something like a presidential assassination at 4 years old. You really, oh my God.
No, I knew it was serious. As I said, well, let me rephrase
When
that.
you're 4 years old, pal, you're not sitting there. You know what I mean? I was 9 in like 3rd grade or something. And it was
I wasn't in school yet, so no, the full gravity of it didn't sink in. I just knew it was serious because my mom watched As the World Turns every weekday afternoon, and that was the first time As the World Turns had ever been interrupted, at least when I was home watching TV with my mom. And so to hear the, just the, nature of those bulletins. No, trust me, I don't know that I fully appreciated the killing of a U.S. president for
but
years.
Don't act like you did. You know what I'm saying? As My Stomach Turns, I always call that show. What's up?
Well, I'm just letting you.
Okay.
Letting you enlighten America.
Yeah, I wish people would listen to me, but I don't know. I'm getting sick of people calling the clown car. Donald Trump is playing chess while people are playing checkers. He knew.
He's playing Chutes and Ladders.
He knew Gates would make a big
Candyland. The whole thing.
There you go.
Don't get me going on Gates. I specifically avoided talking about Gatesgate, but there you go, bringing it up.
Well, listen, Pam Bondi was always the pick. I'd bet you $1,000. Pam Bondi's who he wanted. He knew the liberals would go crazy about Matt Gaetz, so that's what he did. He's playing checkers. He's playing you like a Stradivarius. He's been doing it for 10 years.
Playing solitaire. He's playing solitaire like some guy who's drunk on Diet Coke and overdosing on half-pounders.
See, oh, my God. If you don't snap out of this, if people don't snap out of this and quit calling here, because you are really strange. You can't ever say anything serious. Your life seems like a big joke. Don't you realize that the last 4 years have been such a disaster, and you're still saying how great these people are? And these people from Binghamton seem to believe you. All right, I've had it.
All right. Well, have a great weekend. This is WNBF with the wide world of opinions. So since he brought it up, I was going out of my way not to mention it today, but since it's been introduced to the mix, Gatesgate. Yes, we were duped. We actually went and believed. For some reason, strangely, we believed President-elect Donald John Trump. And he took us all for suckers. As I said, won't get fooled again. Won't get fooled again. What a shame. What a shame that he would play a game with one of his most important appointments. I think it is right. He was never serious about Matt Gaetz. Say what you want about President-elect Donald John Trump, and this is the program where you can say it. He's intelligent enough to have known there's no chance in Halstead at all Matt Gaetz was going to be confirmed as Attorney General of the United States. So it is true. He played us. I don't agree he's playing chess. It's Chutes and Ladders or Candyland or Twister or something. It's not chess. But as my good friend Pete Townsend once said, won't get fooled again. Won't get fooled again. This guy can't even be trusted when it comes to one of the most important appointments of his new administration. There are few jobs in the U.S. government more important than the job of Attorney General. And he played a game. So this gives you a preview. This is a warning, effectively, 2 months ahead of time of what we can expect for the next 4 years. So don't get fooled again. I do think that Pam Bondi was the choice all along. And I also believe the only reason Matt Gaetz was mentioned as the likely nominee for Attorney General was so he could have an excuse to resign from the House of Representatives almost immediately to prevent the release of an embarrassing ethics report from the committee that had been investigating him. I don't think Matt Gaetz was going to be nominated, or at least rumored to be nominated in the first place, but because Matt Gaetz is a member of the train, since he's been on board the train for a long time, whether it was the president-elect's idea or something that Matt Gaetz asked his buddy to do, that was the deal all along. It's like, please, Mr. President-elect Donald John Trump, say that you'll nominate me for Attorney General, then I can use that as a clever excuse to not stay in Congress, and then the House Ethics Committee will claim it has no jurisdiction over my past life, and they won't release the report that has potentially damning information uncovered by the investigators. So, for Matt Gaetz, it's a win. For Pam Bondi, it's a win. And for President-elect Donald John Trump, it's a win. It's a win-win-win. The only people who lose are proud Americans like you and me. It's 9:23 at WNBF. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Airport Road Bob.
Yeah, I was up on Airport Road the other day. Very interesting.
You should stop in anytime. If the car's in the yard, stop in and catch the local news. Well, that's what I'm here for, an update today. We have no power, no cable. NYSEC seems to believe there's 45,000 people without power. Can you find out some kind of update and give us a heads up? Because if they're not listening to Bob Joseph on the radio, they're certainly not watching TV.
No, I have no doubt some of the NYSEG crews that are out there being dispatched to deal with the outages, I'm sure many of them are listening. What else would they listen to? There's nothing. Let's be blunt, and I don't mean this in a mean way. There's nothing else worth listening to on the radio. So
I'm with you, Bob.
Yeah, and again, I respect all radio stations, and I admire what my colleagues in this market are doing against long odds, because, well, we know what has happened to the industry. It's been decimated. So here is the up-to-the-minute information from NYSEG's website about outages. First of all, approaching 50,000 customers in upstate New York without power. So that works out to, I would say, approximately 5% of NYSEG's customers are without power. The biggest problem spot in NYSEG's upstate service area is Delaware County, more than 11,000 customers without power. Number 2, Broome County, with more than 5,000 customers. Also, Shenango County has nearly 6,000 customers. Tioga County, mysteriously, Tioga County has a relatively small number of customers without power. I think parts of Tioga County didn't receive as much snow as some of the points further east and south. Tioga County has about 500 customers without power. Let me look for Broome County for your particular area to see when the projected restoration time is. In the town of Maine, 10% of NYSEG customers without power. 246 out of 2,400 customers are without power now in the town of Maine. And Airport Road, the good news is there are 59 claims. There are 59 customers in the town of Maine on Airport Road, and 28, including you, are without power. And no estimated restoration time. They're still assessing.
Boy, it just makes me feel special, you know.
You are special.
You know, I don't get it. You know, we talk about this every time we have power outages. It's just crazy in this technology world that we're still dealing with all of this. I mean, they don't upgrade any of the
here, see, I have to come to NYSEG's defense about that. I have seen a lot of infrastructure work that NYSEG's been doing, or at least they've had contractors doing a lot of work over the last 3 or 4 years, upgrading, whether it's new poles and other new equipment here in Binghamton and elsewhere around the Triple Cities. I've seen them put in new transformers and trying to improve the reliability. But that doesn't mean, especially in the more outlying areas, say, such as Airport Road, it doesn't mean they're still not going to be vulnerable. Especially, all it takes, as you know, is just one tree to fall down across a power line, and that could knock out maybe 50, maybe 500 customers, depending where the tree falls across the line. And even as I was driving into the station this morning, I was listening, more and more calls were coming out for fire departments and police departments to respond to down power lines or trees and limbs taking wires down. So it's one of those, this is a heavy, wet snow.
Do you have one of those scanners? Are you like, Dick Tracy walking around with a little scanner talking to you in your ear?
Well, I do. As a journalist, I would have no way of knowing anything going on without monitoring. I mean, sometimes I have to say, on a more routine day, sometimes it gets a little boring. And I mean, it's easy. It's easy to sometimes say, oh, I should just stop listening. And then what happens if something big develops and then I miss it? Because let's face it, if something big happens in Broome or Tioga County and I miss it, nobody's going to call me and say, Bob, why aren't you here? This is a big story. And, well, sometimes people do call me or people do send an email, but, I do my best to try to keep track of what's going on, especially for breaking news. That's not my only interest, but I also understand that there is it's a big interest in breaking news if there's a serious crime or a fire or a vehicle crash. Some people in the news business now think those stories are almost irrelevant or nobody should bother covering them because I don't know what the idea is. I guess because it requires, if you want to cover it right, it requires sometimes a reporter to actually go out of their apartment, I mean, obviously the newspaper doesn't have a newsroom anymore, so their reporters are working out of their apartments or from, Starbucks, because the newspaper won't pay for a newsroom. So they have to leave where they are and then actually go out to the scene, and sometimes they do. But I do that maybe not every day, but usually at least a few times a week, go out to see what's going on. Sometimes I'll go out to the scene of something and turns out there's no story there. I mean, something might be happening, but it doesn't rise to the level of an actual news story. So I just chalk it up and say, well, at least I checked.
Well, it's Friday. I'm hoping for a positive show. I'm hoping everybody calls in and has a positive attitude today. Everybody looking forward to the future and not looking back and crying about spilt milk.
No, you can't change the past. We can just look forward to the future with enthusiasm and do our best to make things better. Thank you.
All right, have a great one.
9:30 WNBF Binghamton. We're dedicated to making things better. This is the positive radio program. We're positive that things are going to get better for Binghamton, for America, and for the world. 607-772-1290. If you'd like to contribute, I'd love to hear from you. I'll be on till noon today. Remember the program, the concept is fairly simple. The program is on weekday mornings from 9 to noon, and this is a rare opportunity for you to express your views, to share your thoughts with your friends and neighbors, and even with some people who may be listening in other states or other countries, thanks to the WNBF app. With our transmitters and our website and our app. Serving America, 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, WNBF.com, and yes, the app. The app is there for you. Make sure it's on all of your devices. Let's go back to the phones. Beverly from the town of Dickinson. You're on the air.
Yeah, I didn't have any lights this morning. They went out about, probably about 2:30. And they were out for about an hour.
Yeah, did you call to the nice egg?
No, I didn't call them because, I figured that I'd wait a little while and maybe they'd come back on, and they did.
Well, they do good work. That much we know. They do great work. The people that are with their line department, they're always on top of things.
The only thing I don't like about NICEAC is those smart meters. I don't like them.
Well, you have no choice. As the commercials say, get smart. It reminds me of the TV show that they used to have, Get Smart. And so that's why they want their customers to be more intelligent. That's why they provided you with a smart meter.
Yeah. Yeah, that lady was talking about John F. Kennedy. I was coming back from Burbank, California, and we had to change planes in Texas, and we no sooner got on the TWA Airlines, and they took us off. We didn't, and they were calling through the speakers that that John F. Kennedy was shot. We had to stay in the airport for 2 hours. And if we had to go to the ladies' room, somebody had to go with us. You couldn't get a drink unless somebody went with you. It was sad. It was very, very sad to see a wonderful person get shot. He was the most wonderful person.
Well, he was definitely the best president in my lifetime, the very best.
Well, yes, I agree. And another one, I liked Reagan for some reason or another. He was at Ty Cobb Stadium. When was it? Back in '83.
No, 84. It was 40 years ago.
84,
September 12th, 1984.
And let me tell you, I waited 3 hours to get through that gate. And well, he was there. I don't know. He wasn't there too long, and I seen him. I left and I started walking down Washington Avenue. And I said to myself, this looks like a ghost town. Nobody was around. So I sat on the steps at this Catholic church,
Oh, it's St. Ambrose. I was just over there this morning. I was checking out the St. Ambrose Church on Washington Avenue.
Oh, wow, that's the most beautiful church.
It's so beautiful. That part of Washington Avenue is wonderful.
God, it looks pretty nice.
Yeah.
They got a meridian there now.
Yep.
What was the reason for that? So.
Oh, just to make it look better and to make the shopping district more attractive for people coming to visit the locally owned shops.
Oh boy, that looks nice down there.
They should be proud.
To that antique place.
Yeah, they should be very proud of the work that was done there.
I used to go to that antique place. I had a friend that owned the business, and she went to Florida, and so somebody took it over. But I used to go down there on a Saturday morning. I used to go down there, and then I take the bus to the nursing home,
Right. Listen to this. This is from my big stack of stuff. This is from just a little over 40 years ago. You might remember this.
It's good. It's good to be here in Endicott at the very center of your beautiful Valley of Opportunity.
You remember that?
Yes.
The Valley of Opportunities.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be great if he came back to Endicott now and visited the gigafactories?
Yeah.
When they gave President Reagan a tour of the IBM facility, the guy who was running the place said, hey, everything is super. I'm paraphrasing. Everything is super. It's so super here at IBM Endicott, the birthplace of the big blue company. Everything is so super, we're constructing 3 new buildings. That's how things were back in September 1984.
Right. Yeah. It's a shame that all those businesses had to go out, like Ansco worked there for 37 years.
Well, yeah, and IBM. Where is IBM? It's sad that President Reagan isn't around here to stop back to see what happened 4 decades later, because he would be walking around Washington Avenue or at Ty Cobb Stadium near the high school and saying, which way IBM? And then we would have to say, sorry, IBM left. IBM shut down their last office.
My father worked at Ansco for 37 years, and it was so sad. It was so sad that they closed, and then they closed Anatech.
Yep. It was devastating.
What are they going to do with that land?
What, in the First Ward?
Yeah.
They're going to grow the cannabis. It's going to be a field of weed.
Are you kidding me?
That's the plan, a field of weed.
Oh, no.
Well, that's the plan. It's not final. There was a company from California that wanted to grow the marijuana there because they knew marijuana would be so popular with Binghamton residents that they would want fresh-grown bingo weed, or whatever they would call it. They would call it bingo bongo. Ha! Bingo bongo boingo. But the California company, I guess was it Stizzy? Apparently they had some problems, so their plan to grow the weeds over off Clinton Street on that vacant property, that plan didn't go forward, but they are having talks now with another company so they can grow some weeds there.
They were, that one place, that restaurant over there, on Vestal Avenue. I've eaten there before, and they got good food. But the guy's retiring.
Not the guy running the restaurant. No, the people who own the restaurant aren't retiring, but if they're not careful, they may have to shut it down because the weed whackers want to set up shop there. So
yeah, well,
we'll see what happens. I mean, as the mayor said, it's not a done deal, but I've heard from every day since the mayor mentioned that on the program just over a week ago, every day I hear from more people who are inconsolable. They're beside themselves because the Hacienda restaurant may not be able to operate for much longer over at Vestal Avenue.
Yeah. Well, you have a good day, Bob.
All right, thanks. Don't worry. Everything is going to be okay.
Oh, I know.
All right.
Bye-bye.
9:43 at WNBF. This is the station that serves you, the station that provides information you may not be able to obtain elsewhere. 92.1 FM, 1290 AM, streaming at WNBF.com. 9:46 as we go back to the busy phone, 607-772-1290. Pat in Binghamton, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Bob. I'd just like to reflect on that tragic day back, oh my God, well, at any rate, 5 of us just got off a train and took a bus, went to Fort Dix, New Jersey, and after a day or so, I was standing in line in my underwear shorts, and a sergeant from Texas, Buck Sergeant, handed me my field jacket and said, "They just shot that guy in my home state of Texas." I almost fell off the floor. I just couldn't believe it. So there's obviously some things going on in Texas that I wasn't aware of in Binghamton, New York. But I spent several days at the reception center, longer than normal, because they closed the base right down, tighter and tight. Spent Thanksgiving there. Actually had a pretty good meal. But life changed after that. I think the United States of America changed after that. But I will say, I think out of all those guys, probably 5,000 guys, 2, whatever, was at the reception center. There was very few of them that, looked down on the event. It was being a horrible, it was a horrible event, but there was no Republicans, there was no Democrats, there was no liberals, there was no conservatives. It was, oh my God, what has happened? I just wanted to call in and say what I went through that day.
Yeah, thank you. That's
okay.
What it reminds me of is the way we felt united on 9/11, on September 11th, 2001.
That's for sure. Crazy old world.
Thank you so much. It's unfortunate that it seems to take a tragedy to unite us. The United States of America. We are the United States, but also accurately, we are the divided states of America. We always have been. Even from the beginning, read history. Read about the history of the USA. We've never been, for a long period, 100% united. At times of tragedy, maybe it's a presidential assassination, a terrorist attack, things of that nature, those things do bring us together. But when things are, excuse the expression, normal or more normal, when we're not dealing with a situation that most people would say is unthinkable, we are divided. And there's not anything wrong with being divided. We'll always be divided in terms of opinions on certain issues, and it's not wrong, but I do think that it would be great, it really would be great if we could work better together. As they say, agree to disagree. And not need to feel that the only way to go forward is to be an obstructionist. So if that's the game plan for some people over the next 4 years, to try to obstruct everything put forward by the new administration, well, that's going to be unfortunate. Not sure how effective Democrats would be at being obstructionists, because you have a president, you have the House, and then you have the Senate, all controlled by Republicans. So you could try to be obstructionist, and they can, and no doubt in some cases will strive to slow things down. And in some cases, it'll be understandable. Some cases, it might be totally appropriate. So we'll see what happens. You know, I think people can continue to weigh in. For example, the thing about Gatesgate. The thing with Matt Gaetz. Remember, I didn't bring it up. I wasn't going to bring it up at all. And then some caller brought it up. But the more you think about it, the more you know. It's crystal clear what this was about. Just to get him off the hook. Now, someday, and maybe the day will be soon, someday that report that Matt Gaetz and his friend, the future guy, tried to suppress, someday I think that report is coming out. I don't think you can keep it secret forever. The whole report, unredacted in all of its beauty. As some people observed, if there was nothing to worry about from the House Ethics Committee investigation, then Matt Gaetz and all of his supporters, and he has a lot of supporters, they should have been clamoring for the release of the report. The report. Release it. Put it on 60 Minutes. Put it on the cartoon channels. Put it on C-SPAN. It exonerates Matt Gaetz. But evidently, that's all I can say, is evidently and apparently, that report, were it to be released, would prove to be embarrassing to Matt Gaetz and to certain other people. So they so far have been successful in suppressing the report. It is their right to try to suppress it, but overall, long term, I think we'll see. I don't know if we'll see everything. Personally, we paid for the report, and now that he's no longer in Congress, if he didn't do anything wrong, it's like, yeah, I'm out of Congress. I'm not going to be Attorney General. I'm going to be hosting a new show on Fox News Channel after Hannity, starting in January. So everything's good there. And release the report. Let's see what they think they found. It's 9:53 at WNBF. A winter storm warning is in effect for the Binghamton area till 4 this afternoon. Snow heavy at times. Totals will be highly elevation dependent. Accumulations of 1 to 4 inches in valley locations. Totals of 6 to 12 inches above 1,500 feet. And totals of 12 to 16 inches in the highest elevations. If you are in one of those higher elevations and you have already a lot of snow, let me know. I'd like to know. Maybe after I'm done, maybe at noon, I'll take a trip. I want to go, as long as it's within a 50-mile radius, I want to go find a place that has 16 inches of snow. Dave Nicosia, by the way, from the National Weather Service, will be coming on our program. Maybe he can tell me where to go if I'm looking for 16 inches of snow accumulation. Travel could be very difficult in some spots. So if you're driving around. The other thing is, especially in the outlying areas, but even in town, in neighborhoods, residential streets, all streets, even highways, pay close attention because trees and power lines are still coming down. It's 9:54. Good morning. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Donna from Brackney.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? You said you wanted to know where the snow was. I think it's all out here.
How much do you think your area received? How much snow did you get?
Well, definitely well over a foot. We don't
gosh.
we don't have any power, and we're told it could be days, but it may be sooner. You never know.
Who provides your power? Claverack?
Yes, Claverack.
All right, and they have indicated it could be days.
Yeah, I guess that's the worst case scenario. But you were saying if you wanted to take a trip out here, you could always pick us up food to go.
All right. Well, so are you close to the Brackney Inn?
Yeah, we're right up by Quaker Lake.
Huh. Well, unfortunately, I sympathize with you, but I won't be making any food deliveries, and although I hope that you stocked up on a little bit of food, so it's not as though you're going to go hungry.
No, we never go hungry.
All right.
But,
so do you have a generator or any kind of power?
No, we don't. We've talked about it. We do have like one of those mini power things, but no, we don't have a generator.
So at least you can keep your phone charged.
Yeah.
Well, what about heat?
Well, we have a fireplace downstairs, and we have one of those propane ones upstairs, so we're doing okay as far as that goes.
All right, Donna. Hey, thank you for the report. I hope your power is restored quickly.
Yeah, I had one question. Has anybody called in about something that happened at Wegmans yesterday? We were there in the area, and it was almost like a scene from one of those FBI movies. There was cop cars, and they were blocking off traffic.
Well, nobody's called in. I know there was something yesterday afternoon, and I didn't go over, but my gut feeling is it may have had something to do with someone who was stealing stuff from the store. And I think they might have caught up with him. But, yeah, they did have, for a while, they had a fair amount of activity going on over there. But
yeah,
I don't think it was anything really, really serious. I was at Wegmans later in the afternoon. Well, I think it was around 5, and by then nothing was going on. And I meant to ask people there, do you know what was going on? And I forgot to ask them at checkout. I should have asked. But yeah, I'll see what else I can find out. I am inclined to think it was something like a larceny or whatever. I don't think it was major. But they did have a lot of activity there for a time.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed pretty intense.
Well, if it turns out to be anything major, we'll try to do a story on it, okay?
All right, have a good day.
You too. 9:58 WNBF. We are pleased to welcome back to the program Vestal Town Supervisor Maria Sexton. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So give us a traffic and road update in the town of Vestal. How are things based on what you've been hearing over the last few hours?
Well, our road crews have been out overnight doing an amazing job. But it is slick and slippery, and everybody needs to be careful. But we were, knock on wood, very lucky with the storm. But it's a true testament to our road crews. They've been out overnight, and I just want to remind all our residents, when there is even the possibility of snow, they're up in the middle of the night. They're working for hours before we ever get up. And I really want to thank all our personnel because as I was driving to work this morning, it was clear. It was everybody still needs to be careful, but they really did a great job.
I should note, looking at NYSEG's website right now, there still are quite a few power outages not widespread outages in Vestal. There are quite a few outages across Broome County and other parts of upstate New York and Vestal now. NYSEG is reporting 262 customers without power, including 77 along Route 26 and 3 dozen along State Line Road right near the Pennsylvania border, Underwood Road. Some of those areas that probably are most vulnerable because they're rural, and there are a lot of trees that no doubt have probably come down and taken down some wires. So it might be several hours before some of the town of Vestal residents and businesses have their power restored.
Yeah, with this kind of weather, because the temperatures are relatively warm, that the snow is really wet and heavy. And do you remember a number of years ago, we had that storm that took everybody out for weeks?
That was April. That was only 2.5 years ago. And it was a strange storm because it was nearly a month into spring. And yet, so trees already started to have leaves, and we wound up with a lot of heavy, wet snow. And I remember going through some Vestal neighborhoods, talking with some of the line crews that were brought in from other parts of New York State to help get power back on, because at one point, more than half of NYSEG's customers in Broome County had no power. I think that was, oddly enough, even though it was, I think, around April 19th, 2022, that was, I think the county executive believed, the greatest number of electric customers ever to be without power at one time right here in Broome County. So you never know. It could happen in fall or winter or spring or summer. Problems can happen with the power system and with the other things, the communication systems that we tend to take for granted.
No, absolutely. But I can tell you that NYSEG has done a tremendous amount of work, and I'm sure most of our residents have seen them clearing trees away from the power lines, so that they have been preparing since that storm, which was obviously hugely impactful for everybody. They have done a tremendous amount of work in clearing and prepping and preventing. But during a storm, they're always out there. So they have their crews ready on standby and ready to respond. So, and we have close contact with them all the time. So when there are issues, we do touch base with them, and our personnel talk to their personnel and make sure that that they know what's going on, and they make sure that we know what's going on.
And I know in sections of Vestal, I've seen specific neighborhoods, the area near the nursing home off Sheedy Road off Route 26. Over the last couple of years, a lot of work was done to upgrade the power system, putting in new lines, new poles, and I think even new transformers that serve the nursing home to make the electric service more reliable in that particular area, especially where it's really important for the nursing home facility.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, I went to a meeting with NYSEG in which they were talking about all the upgrades to different areas, not just for Vestal, but for like Catelville Road and different areas. And they were going over all the areas that they were doing major upgrades. So they're making investments. Obviously, energy cost, NYSEG costs are a cost to us, but they really are very proactive in what they do, and they're trying to make their services better.
It's 10:16. We're talking with the Vestal Town Supervisor, Maria Sexton. Recently, we brought our listeners the information about a survey. It was a fast survey, but it was important, about possibly changing tax collection for the town of Vestal. And within a matter of a few days with that survey, thanks to, for example, you're chatting with us here on the program and the other efforts to get the word out, a survey was conducted quickly, and then the Vestal Town Board was able to make a decision about tax collection. Tell us about how that process went. I think a lot of people initially might have figured, we're only going to get less than a week to express our opinion, so it was a done deal. But it turns out that the Vestal Town Board paid attention to what the residents had to say in that survey.
Oh, no, we absolutely did. I read every single survey and all the comments that people put down, and I really want to thank everybody for responding. We were under a time constraint in order to make a decision, so unfortunately the survey was shorter than we wanted, but we still got online. We got 287 responses, and we got about 10 in person, and so that's a solid number, especially for a short time period. And what we saw was about 53% wanted to keep tax collection here with the town and have the in-person option. And then about 47% wanted to move it to the county and wanted more services because you would have the online option, and you would have a drop box. So you would have the ability to pay in different ways and in off hours for people who work. That's huge. So we saw the big split there, and we talked to our town clerk, Deborah Wallace, who was absolutely fantastic. And so together we talked about the options, and she has been great. So she is going to continue to collect taxes, which maintains the in-person option for all of our residents, so you can come and pay at Vestal Town Hall in person. But she's also going to, and we're going to do it together, but we're going to set up a online option so that people can pay electronically by e-check, and we'll be able to pay by credit or debit card, but there's a 3% fee because those companies charge that. So the e-check is inexpensive. There's a small fee, but it's a flat fee, so it's very accessible for people if they want to go electronic. But we're also going to set up a drop box so that 24/7 or on the weekends or whenever people feel, that they want to, for people who have families or people who have work or people who just want to, they're going to be able to put their tax payments in directly to us in the off hours very securely. We have video cameras. We're going to make sure it's really safe for everybody, but they're going to have that option as well. So we were able to literally meet the needs of everybody who responded, but we listened. And I think that's the job and that's the responsibility of every elected official.
It's 10:20 at WNBF. We're talking about Vestal-related issues. How did the town budget process go this year? I know when I talk with elected officials, whether it's town or village or city or county officials, obviously the annual budget process is necessary, but it's not exactly the most exciting thing, the most exciting responsibility that they have to deal with. How did it go this year for Vestal?
Well, it's really important, but yeah, it was not an easy year. I'm sure you've heard from other officials from other areas. So our numbers, in terms of our fixed costs, were incredibly high increases. And I'll give you an example. So like Medicare went up our payments to Medicare went up 68% or $300,000. Our utilities went up 24.7%. But everything went up. So, and in double digits, most of them. So our retirement went up 15%, but every contract that the town has went up as well. Our software services went up. Software went up 34.2%, and auditing. We pay a company to audit us every year to make sure there are no errors and to make sure everything is double checked and triple checked. But their services went up 14%. Internet services went up almost 19%, et cetera. So all these fixed costs were so much. We asked our personnel, our department heads, and everybody to look at what they had and try to cut back as much as possible. And they did an amazing job. So anything that was discretionary or any cost saving that they could look at, they did. So they were able to keep their expenditures, and most of them they have to do, but they thought outside the box, and they were able to keep their expenditures for departmental needs at this year's level. And in fact, some of our departments did way above that. So our police department decreased their total budget. Code did the same. Engineering did the same. Recreation also, while still expanding their program, were able to decrease their total cost to the town. If you look at the budget line, it looks higher, but they're going to have increased revenue. So they're able to do more, literally with less. Everybody pitched in. Every department head and all of our personnel were amazing, but the numbers are crazy. So we were able to make our budget under the cap, but we also want to say that, we had to create a taxing district this year, and we had public hearings and we had a public conversation about our ambulance service. So our EMS are absolutely incredible. They're mostly volunteer, and they do have paid paramedics, but for the most part they are a volunteer service. But all of their equipment is unbelievably expensive. So anything from the ambulance to the stretchers to the medications that they have to give, every treatment that they give and every equipment that they have is unbelievably pricey. And up until this year, they've been able to get by really unbelievable cost savings and making do with not what they, just making do. And they were able to provide an incredible service, and they do every single day. But this year, they had to cry uncle, and they were like, they literally could not make it anymore if they didn't set up a direct tax. Now, please understand, they, number one, cost save as much as they possibly can. Most of them are volunteers, and they charge insurance companies what they can, but it's still, they were going in the red so much that they were literally going to not be able to function anymore. So this year, with public conversation, public input, public hearings, everything, we established a tax district. So everybody is going to get a direct tax from EMS, and that is included in our tax cap. So when you look at our tax cap numbers, we do go over. But for us, it was literally do or die. Are we going to have an ambulance service and get that care to our residents, or are we just going to let them fold? And then, honestly, the ability for our people to get medical help would be really tremendously impacted. Ambulance would have to come from other areas, and some of them are private. Then it becomes a cost factor for our residents. Anyway, so we made that choice, and I think it was the right choice. I know it was the right choice, because when you never need medical help until you need it. And I can tell you the stories, and I can tell you my own story of my family member who needed it. And if that ambulance was not there, it would have been a completely different story. And for every resident who has an emergency, that ability for that ambulance to be there quickly is huge. And for some people, it's life or death.
Well, it is. I mean, when you call 911 and somebody is experiencing a medical emergency, seconds and minutes really count. And if the Vestal emergency squad has all of its rigs tied up, for example, at one time, and then somebody has to come mutual aid from Union or Superior or some other service, I mean, it will take longer. But bottom line is, if people can respond, especially directly from the new headquarters on the Vestal Parkway, which seems to be fairly centrally located, how is that working out since the squad moved into the newly constructed complex near the town library?
Oh, it's fantastic. And like I said, when I first got elected, they showed me the whole facility, and it's beautiful, but it is 100% geared for their needs. So it's focused on what they need, and to ensure that they have the ability to do things better. And most of all, it's centrally located. So when they have to respond and they have to take that ambulance and respond to any residence, it's central, which means that they get there as quickly as they possibly can. And it's right on the Parkway, and that's the quickest route. So right by the Parkway, right by 26, and they're going to get to everybody as quickly as they possibly can. But it's a beautiful facility, and they certainly, again, they're mostly volunteers. They go above and beyond for our residents all the time, and they deserve it. But they give back to us every single day.
As you mentioned, so there's now a new taxing district for the ambulance service, and there also were changes made for the taxing districts with respect to the volunteer fire department. The existing fire district was changed earlier, several weeks ago. A decision was made by the board. So the way the fire district now will operate differs from what it had been for decades.
Well, the structure is different, but how they operate is the same. Again, we have an all-volunteer fire department, which is absolutely amazing, which is unlike many towns who can't do that anymore. We have a tremendous amount of residents who give of their time and effort and get incredible training and spend their time not only training, but responding to everything that they respond to. When road conditions are bad, they respond. If trees are down, they respond. But most importantly, when there are fires or emergency situations, they're there, but they're volunteers. We were the last fire department in New York State that was out of compliance. It was not legal for the town to control the fire department. And so we literally did what every other town has done, and the fire department became a separate entity. It is still all volunteer. They still do an amazing job. They are still accountable. They will have elected officials. They're in a transition period right now, but they will have elected officials governing them. But it was not legal to do it the way that they were. So we're rectifying the legality. But I want to tell you something. We have fire commissioners who have volunteered their time, again, volunteers, who have sorted through all of the deeds, all of the financial aspects, all accounting for everything that the fire department has. They have done all of the work in order to make that separation legally and financially possible. They've just, once again, these are all volunteers that serve our residents every day. But it's going to be separate, but they are accountable. They will have elected officials, and the elections will be held next year. There was no time frame for this year, literally. There was no way for it to be done. So they are going to work on getting all of their finances and everything their finances are in order, but they are going to work on making sure that they have everything squared away, everything in place, everything accounted for, everything done, and then they're going to have elections next year, and then they're going to be governed by elected fire officials. They also, by the way, just to note, they are also mandated to have the 2% cap as well.
It's 10:31. We're talking with Maria Sexton, the town of Vestal supervisor on WNBF Binghamton. Fire department just about a year ago put the new Station 4 in service, a $7.5 million facility, not far from, I always say if people want to know where it is, because you can't see it that easily unless you know exactly where it is. It's behind Target and Kohl's, behind the Parkway Plaza. So the new station has now been in operation for about a year. So what kind of feedback have you been hearing from members of the fire department and also from town residents with the relocation of Station 4?
Well, it is very close to our residents, but I want to tell you, I want to really give full credit to Tom McCartney, who is a fire commissioner right now, and who is honestly overseeing. He is the chair of the fire commissioners. He is overseeing the transition. having the fire department next to some residents and houses obviously was a little upsetting to some residents. Tom has gone above and beyond in sitting down and talking to our residents one-on-one, going to their dining room tables, talking to them, listening to their concerns, and working with the fire department to ensure that they make sure that firehouse is minimally impactful on the residents around them. And again, we have to remember fire response is hugely important, right? Again, one of those services that if you don't have it, or if it's not quick, it makes all the difference in the world when there's a problem. So we need them, 100%. But they have done an amazing job in talking to our residents and continue to talk to them to work out any problems and try to make it the best and to be literally good neighbors to our residents that live right there.
So have the concerns been primarily about noise or about vehicles that travel off Johnson Road to and from the fire station?
Yeah, it's all of those things. But again, when something big like that comes in and you're dealing with big fire trucks, which are loud, but they have been incredibly wonderful. Right now, the siren has not been activated and is deactivated for the firehouse itself because they have electronic means to contact all their volunteers. And the fire trucks do not put their sirens on until they get away from the residential houses. There has been a huge cooperative effort by all of the fire department personnel, to ensure that it's minimally impactful on our residents. It's still a fire truck, but it doesn't do the siren until it gets to the open areas, to open commercial areas, and they try to do the best that they can. But honestly, it's one of those things, we need the fire trucks. We have volunteers who spend their time and effort to do it, and who are doing their best to work with the residents and be respectful of it, but they still have to do their job. So, again, Tom McCartney is just absolutely amazing in listening to everything and doing his best to work to make it as best for the residents as possible.
What will be happening with the old fire station and that property on the Parkway? I know as the whole process was underway to get approval for the new fire station off Johnson Road, ultimately the plan is to sell the property on the Parkway, which, given Parkway property values, probably should be able to fetch a significant amount of money. Where do things stand, to the best of your knowledge, with respect to eventually having that property sold now that the old fire station has been decommissioned?
They're absolutely going to sell it. So they're just finalizing all of that right now. And that property is designated as commercial real estate, and it's zoned for commercial. So that building could be utilized or the property could be utilized, but it's a prime location. And all of the money that is raised with it belongs to the fire district. So when they sell it, the money goes back to fire services to finance it, and that will subsidize what they need to do.
And based on property values, as I said, one could expect probably a substantial amount of revenue if they eventually do find someone who wants it. Who knows? Chick-fil-A.
Well, we all want that, and other businesses that people have thrown out the names before. If they want to come, we will welcome them for sure. But once again, we don't know of anybody coming here like that. But we do love them, and we would love them to come as well. But it is a prime property, yes, and all the money that is raised when it is sold, and hopefully it will come as a really good price, will subsidize what the fire department needs to do, and that will help to defer the cost to our residents.
And there is a lot of activity, always is a lot of activity along the Parkway corridor, especially the portion, Vestal Parkway East, between the Binghamton line and Four Corners. There's been a tremendous amount of activity, new businesses and sometimes expanding businesses. I know people seem to be excited because the place that had been Blaze Pizza for a few years is now being transformed. I believe they're planning to start selling hot chickens over at Dave's Hot Chicken or someplace like that. I guess they're going to probably open early next year where Blaze Pizza had been on the Parkway.
Oh, absolutely. And we welcome all businesses because, it's a service to our residents, number one. It's great to have new places. But secondarily, it does bring more income to the town, which, again, the more income for the town, it means that we can control the taxes to our residents as much as possible. We do have other areas on the Parkway that definitely are up for a rent. So any businesses that want to come in the area that are appropriate for the area, we absolutely welcome and we encourage it. And we invite them to come in and take a look at the properties because the Vestal Parkway is the commercial area. And for that, the vehicle traffic is unbelievably high, which means that they will make a profit. And when they make a profit, they stay, which provides for our residents. It gives our options for our residents and also, again, helps us with controlling our taxes.
What about the site where Friendly's and Pizza Hut had been? We've been anxiously awaiting something to happen there next to the True Hotel.
Yeah, we would love it too. We don't know of any businesses that have made serious inquiries or have plans to go there. But again, those are perfect places. It is close to BU. It's right in the heart of all of the travel areas. It's right by 201. It's right by the Parkway. These are prime locations for businesses. And we want to encourage businesses to come in because they will make a profit in Vestal. And again, and that benefits all of us.
As you know, some people have been waiting for 11 months to see signs of a Dairy Queen being built there. Has anything transpired besides what was announced on New Year's Day this year?
No, we don't know anything about a Dairy Queen. But once again, one of those chains that personally, I love them. So if they're thinking of coming, or if somebody wants to, it's a franchise. So if somebody wants to open one, it would definitely do great business here, just like all the other businesses that have been mentioned, because they're prime location. We have tons of, a lot of the reason BU students make a lot of our businesses viable and more profitable than they would be without them. So our students keep a lot of businesses open. Of course, we want a Dairy Queen. Of course, we want all these other businesses. And if they entertain the idea of coming, we would welcome them. So, yeah.
Well, there are a few other spots. The place that had been the seafood restaurant down at Town Square Mall, that looks like it would be an opportunity for some, whether it's another eatery or something similar, because that's a very popular place just with the other stores and services that are part of Town Square Mall. So one would think that perhaps in the next several months we would hear something about that site.
Yes, and once again, I don't know anything about it, but it is absolutely 100% a prime location. It's, again, I myself go to the mall a few times a week minimum, but everybody drives past there, and that is literally the highest. Well, I can't say literally, but it is extremely high traffic area for people who are going shopping, who are looking for food, who are looking it's a convenient location for their families. All of these are prime locations. And so we are hoping to expand our businesses more, again, because it benefits everybody.
You might be interested in knowing the people in Bentonville, Arkansas, know how to find Vestal, New York on a map because of the performance of their superstore there. I mean, it's the numbers. The numbers are astonishing of what that store in Vestal has done since it opened.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not a selling point. It is literally, it's not something that we just say. The Vestal Parkway is an extremely high traffic area. Not a traffic jam area, just a traffic area where people pass by, and our businesses do an incredible volume of businesses for it. I mean, it's the best place to have your business because, you know, within sight is as people pass by, they're like, oh, yeah, and then take their family back to go to a different location or come back to go shopping for different items. And the variety of things that are offered in this immediate area is literally pretty much you can get almost anything that you want. And that's huge. So when people come shopping, they come here because anywhere on the Parkway you can find almost anything.
Yeah, some people in the town of Shenango along the Front Street corridor are jealous of what the Parkway has that they wish they had.
Yeah, and you know, it's all of these areas have been a huge transition. You know, I lived up here, I don't want to say how many decades ago, but many years ago, and I worked on the Parkway when it was still the old Vestal Parkway, and there was in the old Vestal Plaza. I worked there, and I worked on a taco maker on the Parkway, and I worked as a shoe salesperson in the old Vestal Plaza. This area has come a long way, and it has transitioned from certain kinds of stores, but has been revitalized in a lot of ways. And we have these incredible businesses here that have invested their money, and it pays off. So we have gone from having issues, as a lot of areas do, right? A lot of cities, you go around and you have storefronts that are not leased. You have areas that are old and you know, we love them. There are a lot of towns but you know, the storefront shopping just isn't there anymore. Look at the amazing things that they've done to re-envision the Oakdale Mall, right? It's taking the old and faltering and making it something new and great. They've done an amazing job with it, and they're continuing to do that. And we hope to do even more with the Vestal Parkway as well, because we have the volume, we have the vehicle traffic, we have the people who want to buy stuff and to take places for their families to eat. So businesses that come here will do very, very well. So we just hope that they continue to come and consider us as a great alternative.
Of course, when I mentioned that closed seafood place in the Town Square Mall, I forgot another place that just closed a month ago, and it's because the company had its own financial problems, the chain TGI Fridays, when they closed down in late October. So there's another spot off the Parkway that I would think at some point is going to serve as home to potentially a new restaurant or something that would be a good fit for there. So I overlook that because there's so many things going on. One thing that we covered about 6 months ago, Dollar General, which seems to want to put stores every 2.5 miles across the country, had a plan to build another store on the Vestal Parkway East, not far from Four Corners. And I believe that projects may be on hold or may not go forward because of parking issues. Do you know what the status is of the Dollar General that was proposed near Four Corners?
Well, it's definitely still a go. And what they are doing is they are going over and double checking all those areas, all those issues. So our town engineer, every new project or any new development, our town engineer reviews it, and he is incredibly good. But every project goes to our planning board, and they are amazing, and they are very resident conscious. to ensure that all the problems in the development of any project are worked out to ensure that any issues are addressed and corrected before the plans go forward. It sometimes can be a longer process for some ideas and concepts, but they are still continuing on, and they do traffic studies, and they do impact studies, and they do all kinds of things. But our planning board does an amazing job too. And again, these are our residents who spend their own time and energy and really invest to ensure that everything is done properly when we do something in Vestal. And they ensure that our residents are protected, but our businesses can thrive.
For many years, there's been talk about relocating the building that houses the Vestal Museum. And I know probably the biggest issue with moving the Vestal Museum back to the area where it had been up until the mid-'70s, the biggest issue has been the cost. It will not be cheap if that building is ultimately going to be moved back north across the Parkway. Where do things stand with the long-discussed move of the museum building?
Well, we definitely want to move it if we can. But the price over the years has increased astronomically. And because of that, it's something that we have to buckle down and make a concerted effort to try to get the funds for. Our town engineer is working on it. The Vestal Historical Society, who are doing, and they're a nonprofit, they are very invested in it. So the town board has already voted in concept that we need to try to raise the funds to be able to move it, because it would be great. And please don't get me wrong. Everybody has worked really hard on the museum over the years to try to do everything that they could with it. But the concept of it being over on the rail trail and it being a historic area by the coal house, and in talking to our town engineer who has the designs and the plans for the new site, it would be absolutely amazing. And his ideas and his concepts are just fantastic. But the cost of construction and the cost of any big project is in the millions of dollars. So what the town board has already voted for the idea, and we've been a little busy, to say the least. But then we're going to work with the Historical Society, and we're going to try to raise funds. We're going to be applying for grants, and we're going to see if we can get enough money or close to the amount that it would take to move the museum to really, which would be a great home on the rail trail. So we definitely want to do it. We definitely have plans to try our best to get the money to do it, but it's a lot of money, so we really have to make a concerted effort to do it, but we will do that.
Does anybody have a more recent, realistic cost estimate of what it could run for that relocation job?
Well, a guesstimate, a general idea is at least $1.5 million. So it's a lot of money. But we're going to search out for grant money. Our town engineer is definitely on board with everything. The Historic Society is on board. The town board is on board. Everybody wants to do it. But we do have to buckle down and try to search out the funds to do it. And that takes time and effort, and to really concentrate on it. And so it is absolutely something that we are going to do. But we have to spend the time and attention to do it. And so once we work our way through some of the other major things that we're trying to accomplish, then we will do that as well.
Has anybody approached the town about making changes with respect to water fluoridation?
I know that's a big thing politically. I don't know what's going to happen with it. Our water sewer director, Scott Groves, is fantastic. And can I just say also, I want to say how amazing him and his personnel are. And I want to remind all our residents, they're the people who are out there in the cold, in the heat, literally underwater or in water or around water. In the worst weather, when we have water main breaks, they are out there maintaining and planning to ensure that our systems are safe. So please, can I just thank all of them for all their work all the time. But that being said, Scott is very aware and ready to do whatever needs to be done. So if the political decision, wherever it comes from, to say that we are going to have fluoride and continue to have fluoride in the water, or it is not something that we do anymore, he is ready to do either.
What's your personal thought about it at this point? Have you given it much thought?
I have not looked at the research, and I have not heard all sides of the argument, so I'm not going to say one way or another. I know what the historic perspective has been, but I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the new things that they're looking at, and so I want to, when I say something, or form an opinion of my own, I want to ensure that I have all the facts in front of me, which I don't at the moment.
We haven't had a chance to touch on the Vestal Library, and actually there hasn't been a lot of news in the last few months about the library. Where do things stand with respect to the library, which also is located on the Parkway, near the Town Museum and near the new Emergency Squad building?
Well, the Vestal Library is flourishing. They do an absolutely amazing job, and they have brought that library from what it was just, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, where there really wasn't a tremendous amount going on there, and I don't want to disparage anybody because I'm sure there probably was, but it was not what it is today. It is vibrant. They have tons of programs there. They have rooms that they rent out to the community for next to nothing. They have adults who come in to use the computers. They have, teenagers who come over and utilize the library after school every day. They have programs for people with both mental and physical challenges. If you go to the library, it is a vibrant place. Every time that I go there, it's just absolutely amazingly and bustling, but in a good way, quietly bustling, I want to say. And every cubby hole is a different age group. They have done an amazing job bringing it back, and that's to the credit of the library director, the last library director, and this library director, and the library board and all of the library staff who have made a concerted effort to bring all of these programs into the library and make it what it is today, which, again, is a far cry from what it was a number of years ago.
Early this year, some initial work was being done to expand the Vestal Rail Trail system. I know we reported in January that some of the clearing for a 3,500-foot expansion of the rail trail was underway last winter, but aside from that initial clearing, not much happened this year. What is the plan? What's the timeline for expanding that rail trail behind the Town Square Mall?
Well, I'd have to consult with the engineer to say the exact timeline, but it's absolutely progressing. And obviously with everything, it goes through stages. So this past year, they were just obtaining the last parcels for the project. I believe it's the last parcels to ensure that they have everything in place. But I don't know what the exact timetable is. But it is progressing. It is going to come to fruition, and it is definitely, it's going to be a reality.
And something else that we've been waiting to see something happen for a few years, the green space across from the university. I still call it Vestal Parkway. I'm too old, but you know where I'm talking about. That space that had been, I believe, donated by the Matthews family, and I know I've seen blueprints for what is planned to be a green space, sort of a small park. Where do things stand with that?
Well, ironically, I just talked to some people last night about it. So we have a conservation committee, again, all volunteers, with the town, And they just brought it to our attention. I did not know anything about it. And we found the old documents. It actually isn't technically donated to us, to the town, so it is not a town property. However, it is a conservation area that is designated for public use and public access. And so I forwarded the document to our town attorney, who is then going to be contacting Matthews, and we are going to be talking about what can be done there. So, but again, we're going to seek out grant money because our budget is very tight. But we have a lot of opportunities for it. And again, a big shout out to our committees. These are all volunteers, and they have such a vision, and they're like, yeah, we have this property that we could do something about it. And they talked about, how they could develop it so to make it low maintenance and make it people friendly and everything. And we talked about the what's specified in the document. So they have great ideas. And I'm telling you, I would not have known about it except that they put this forward to us. And we have the documentation, so we're going to reach out to them and see what the possibilities are. And then obviously we're going to seek funding. And they sent me an email. Again, the Conservation Committee members sent me an email about the different grant options available. And we now have a grant writer that we can contract with, so it's going to be a consideration for the town board.
Vestal Town Supervisor Maria Sexton, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a great day and have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you. 10:59 WNBF. Because you'll miss the show. We're joined now by Dave Nicosia from the National Weather Service. Good morning, David.
Good morning, Bob. A different song.
Yeah, I thought this one was kind of appropriate for today, especially for our listeners in some of the higher elevations.
Sure.
Looks to me like the forecast that you discussed about 24 hours ago looks like you pretty much nailed it, you and your team.
Yeah, the valleys, like we were saying, didn't get nearly as much. I mean, up here on top of Mount Ettrick, we're around 9 inches. And there's other places that are even higher than us. We've got up to as much as 17 inches of snow reported in Delaware County, New York, and then down actually in Susquehanna County, PA, in those very high elevations, over 2,000 feet. So very elevation-dependent storm like we were talking about, because it was very close to freezing for a lot of the storms. So, we had a lot of rain last evening, and the mountains turned to snow first, and the valleys turned to snow last. And, that was the difference. And we've seen these before, and they're difficult to forecast because everybody's backyard is going to be a little bit different. So, but yeah, it's a winter wonderland up here. And I'm actually at least in Broome County, we don't have that many power outages. But you go over to Delaware County, Otsego, and Shenango, the power outages really pick up. Then you go to our neighbors to the south in Susquehanna County, they were around 60% of residents without power, just south of us.
Yeah, and we received a call from a woman in Brackney. She said they had about a foot of snow where she was, and Claverack apparently was suggesting they may not have their power back on for a few days. So some of those rural spots in Susquehanna and I suppose maybe Bradford counties, or Wayne County, some of those areas may be without power for more than one day.
Yeah, Wayne County is pushing 40% of Pennsylvania, and then Susquehanna is at 62%. And Bradford it's increasing pretty quickly in Bradford right now. They're up to over 4,000 without power. So, yeah, it's still snowing, too, in a lot of those areas. But you get north of the border, and, we had similar amounts in some areas, and yet, it's not as bad. So, different states, different companies. But you can see, Broome, we're only at 621.
No, actually, Broome is up. Actually, Broome has increased.
Okay.
Yeah, Broome is up to 5,544.
Oh, okay.
So,
I have old data then.
yeah, and although percentage-wise, if you look at Broome County's percentage of NYSEG customers without power, I'm guesstimating that works out maybe to 7%-ish. That because Broome County has about 91,000 customers and about 5,500 are without power. But some of and just so our listeners know, some of the biggest problem spots in Broome County for NYSEG are, say, the towns of Binghamton, Colesville, Fenton, and town of Sanford. Even though in your neck of the woods, the town of Maine, 289 customers, so there aren't. Well, even town of Windsor has 1,000 customers. Town of Windsor, almost half of NYSEG's customers are without power right now.
Okay, so the information I have is old here.
Yeah. I
probably have to refresh it.
Yeah, I just updated the NYSEG website, and then if you look, Shenango County 6,300, Delaware County more than 11,000. Tioga County, it's actually gone up over the last couple of hours to nearly 800. Tompkins County, Ithaca area, 4,500. So, and all told, NYSEG has more than 52,000 customers without power. Because even now, even if the snow has stopped, you're still having issues with power lines and trees, branches coming down. So it's not beyond the possibility of seeing some additional outages over the next several hours just because of the weight of the snow.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we were talking about yesterday, heavy, wet snow. Once you cross 6-7 inches of snow, you're going to start pulling those trees down, and they go down. I mean, the wires can handle it, but the trees, falling on the wires, that's where the problem is. And, driving into work this morning, there was a couple of those smaller saplings, and they were bending over down into the road because I came in early.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, whoa, that's pretty interesting. And a couple of them were laying pretty down, branches were down on the lines, but people had power in their house because you could see the lights on. So, we'll see if that held. It's interesting because here at the office, we have commercial power here. But at our radar site on the other side of the airfield, there is no power, so we're running the radar on generator. So there's a little bit of impact up here. Yeah, but we have, I think we have our tanks hold, 4 or 5 days worth of fuel. So we'll be fine.
The Aviation Commissioner, Mark Kiefner, gave me another tour on Wednesday afternoon. I almost popped into your office to say hi and have a cup of coffee, and I said, I know the last time I was up there, I dropped in and I thought, I don't know if Dave and the forecasters want people just popping in saying, hi, could I have a cup of coffee? Can I look at the radar images?
You're always welcome here, my friend. You're always welcome here.
Thank you. So let's look forward now. We got through this particular wintry weather event. What can we expect over the next week or so?
Well, that's in fact, I was looking at that before I talked to you because I was kind of interested in that. So, this storm will leave over the weekend, and then another storm tracks through the Great Lakes early next week, and actually gives us rain. It warms up. I mean, it's not winter yet. It's like a month before winter. It's the end of November, so we do get a little bit of rain. And then what's interesting, that would be on Monday to Tuesday, and then we start seeing Canadian air and high pressure coming down from the north. That is a big change. We haven't seen anything like that in, the first real, what I would call real surges of winter cold and it's a little early this year, are poised to come down. So, yeah, it's going to get much more winter-like later next week, and especially the week after, into the first week of December. I mean, I think we're going to be seeing some pretty good winter-like weather, like it's going to be cold. So, yeah, big changes from, we've kind of had a mild fall, and things are cooling down pretty quickly in North America. So heading towards that time of year, and yeah.
Well, knowing the way the media works, the next after people get done with Thanksgiving, then we'll see the spate of stories about the odds of a white Christmas. I got to tell you, Dave, every year it's like clockwork. Some stories, I could set my watch to it, so somebody will say, "Oh, well, it seems like this year the odds of a white Christmas are quite high compared to the last few years." And I have to say, based on just what you and I have talked about yesterday and today, I get the sense that this year there is perhaps a higher possibility, if not probability, of a white Christmas in the Binghamton area than, say, the last few years.
You know what? I don't have an answer for you, Bob, because things could change so quick. You know, I mean, it's like it's going to get cold, but that's the first week of December, you know, and then we could have...
Well, are you saying that by the second half of December, that there would be something sort of akin to a weather roller coaster, and then suddenly we could see a milder than usual end to December with less precipitation?
You know, it absolutely could, because let's take us back 4 years when I was down in South Carolina.
Yeah, I remember that. Remember it well. While we were getting
40 inches of snow.
Yeah, and Newark Valley got 45 inches.
Right, and I'm sitting down there like, oh my goodness. And my first thoughts were, wow, this locks in a white Christmas. You know, I mean, it's going into January. Oh, we're going to have a lot of snow this winter. And then what happened? It all melted.
Well, that's right. It warmed up within less than a week, and not only did a lot of the snow that we got melted, but there were flooding issues because on Christmas Day we wound up with heavy rain.
Exactly. So that's why I've gotten to the point, and I've been doing this long enough where I don't make very long range, but I look at our computer models out to about 2 weeks, and even at 2 weeks, I get a little skeptical, but I get general trends. But beyond that, honestly, we try as meteorologists, not here in Binghamton, but our climate forecasters try. But the reality of it is it's just, who knows? So I would say the odds are on the hill here, which is different than the valley. It's about 75% chance that we'll have snow on the ground at Christmas, because that's what the climatology says. I would say the valley is probably more like 55 to 60. It's just, it doesn't snow as much down there. It just, that's just the way it is. The valleys, it's probably why they settled the valley the way they did, right? You figure the weather is better down there than it was up on the hills.
Talking with Dave Nicosia, and what's your official title? You're the person in charge of the Binghamton office.
Meteorologist in charge here, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, you ever regret choosing to have a career with the National Weather Service instead of choosing the Old Farmer's Almanac?
I do not regret. I love working for the Weather Service. I thoroughly enjoy it. I'm 33 years in. 33 years in, and I've been at Binghamton 25 years. So thoroughly enjoying it.
As many of our listeners may know, you grew up in this region, not too far west of Binghamton.
Yep, in Bradford County, northeast Bradford County. Yeah. So, yep, I'm area. Yeah, this is my home. So, I feel privileged and honored to be able to serve this area for the last quarter century. So, yeah, I'm having a great time. I could retire next year, Bob. I'm not saying I'm gonna.
Hey, I know. Well, Dave, I have to say, I know the feeling. I could. I'm not saying I'm gonna, but it's always there in the back of my mind. I mean, the reality is I'm still having. I enjoy what I do too much, whether it's with the talk show or reporting. I also feel that it's providing a service, a value to the community. So, yes, whereas some people say, well, Bob, you've been working now for, several decades. Why don't you take a break? And I have to say, it's not time yet for me to take a break.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm thoroughly enjoying what I'm doing right now, and at this point, why would I leave this? So, yeah, as long as I'm having fun, and
Well, you have a passion. I'd say in a couple of ways we have similarities. I mean, especially that we're passionate about what we do. You have a passion for weather, and I have a passion for journalism and radio. So I think both of us are very fortunate and very well positioned for what we've been able to do, not far from where we grew up. One final note, just looking ahead for the next several hours. So officially, the winter storm warning is still in effect here for the Binghamton area. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're just going to keep it running, even though the snow is winding down, just because, the roads are a mess in many areas, and, there's still a power outage issue. A lot of times we don't like to just drop something prematurely, because then it gives a false impression that it's all clear. So, yeah, we're not going to see that much more snow. I mean, I know west of Binghamton there is a heavy snow band right now that's tapering down. A lot of the snow that has fallen is pretty much fallen, and it might get just a little bit more. But, yeah, we'll probably hold on to that for a little bit longer, just, because it isn't. There's some areas where it's not safe to be out. The roads are really bad. So, but, I'm sure they're working on it, and once things get cleaned up a little bit, and we're pretty certain that there's not going to be any more additional snow, we'll be dropping all those. So,
what about Thanksgiving? Is the weather going to be nice for Thanksgiving travel for Wednesday and Thursday?
Well, again, Thanksgiving, that's next Thursday. Whoa,
yeah, 6 days. This week has gone by fast.
We are watching a potential storm. I hate to say it. Next Thursday. Some of the models have it hitting south of us. Some of the models having it coming and hitting us. And then some of it having going west of us and giving us rain. So you pick. So, yeah, there is a potential storm sometime next week, and that's going to be very interesting. So, pay attention to the weather, because it's always changing, and there is a potential storm next week. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't know what it's going to do yet, but it's something to just keep an eye on.
And we will. We'll keep posted with the National Weather Service forecasts as they evolve over the next week or so. Dave Nicosia, thank you so much for your time. Hope you have a great weekend.
Yep, you too, Bob. Have a good one.
11:28. Listening to Binghamton Now. I'm Bob Joseph on WNBF. Dave from Binghamton, you're on the air.
Good morning, Bob. I wanted to be another Dave talking about stuff about Mount Ettrick. But before I talk about the airport, I just wanted to clarify that when the town supervisor mentioned that they were the last town to be in control of the fire department, what the issue was the town board was also the fire commissioners, and that's what was not allowed. So that's what they had to make their own separate. Yeah, so it's not that a town couldn't be in control of the fire department. It's the town board could not be the commissioners. So that just needs to clarify that one. And also speaking of Vestal, the thoughts on the paint job of Dave?
Yes. Boy, that's colorful.
Yes, that it is. A little bit is very unique, and the inside should as well, and definitely can't be missed. But yeah, so it'll be interesting. But what I was...
with what they're doing there, I bet, I know nothing really seriously about the chain, but I bet they're going to sell a lot of hot chickens, especially in the first few weeks after they open.
Oh yeah, it'll be definitely a hot business there for sure for a little while.
Yeah, I might actually go and take some pictures and video.
Definitely, it'll be good to compare them with Nanny's downtown and see, about the chicken battles continuing.
We'll have a taste-off to see whose chicken is hotter.
Definitely. The one concern that I have is with the remodeling inside is that they covered up the McDonald's frame again, or the metal beams that were exposed while it was glazed. So hopefully they're still visible, but that's one of my concerns there.
Well, at least the people that run Crooked Mouth, the craft brew place in Endicott, left the beams or what were part of the Golden Arches from when their building had been McDonald's over there on Vestal Avenue. They left those exposed. I mean, they're no longer yellow. They're covered with a red plastic, but it still sort of serves as a throwback to the good old days when hamburgers were 10 cents.
Definitely. So now on to what I was really wanting to call about. Oh, and also the Golden Snowball website's not updated for this year, but we are in the lead so far, I believe. But
I hope we win this year. I hope we win running away, so no other community in upstate New York can say, "Oh, we was robbed or it was rigged." No, Binghamton. I want Binghamton to win by at least a 20 or 30 inch margin of snow accumulation.
And that would be nice. And if everything continues this way, where we get it first and more, then definitely. But Buffalo might, they always come from behind at times. So the the airport, I loved listening to Mark the other day, and definitely I agree it's getting better, but bigger definitely not. They're getting rid of the number of gates and jet bridges. The square footage of the building appears to be getting a little bit smaller. They're bringing in the general aviation in, and the FBO thing that I thought was interesting. Obviously it's a good way to provide the services 24/7, have their own staff. But I'd love to know about a lawsuit that I saw online about the FBO and the county because of the changeover. That would have been nice to hear about. And then another thing that I really hope comes to fruition, like we was discussing, was the addition of a second flight, which with the moving of the flight from the morning to the afternoon, that could be that for me, it's definitely the negative for connecting flights. But if they add the second one in the morning again, then that would definitely alleviate that. And then they could continue to do the Western connecting flights for the afternoon departure. And online, from your video about the flight landing, people were like, "Oh, it's a lot of complaints is normal," even though it's unfounded a lot of times. Especially one person said, I looked for a flight the next day, and it was a lot more here than it was in Syracuse on a different airline. Well, yes, because Syracuse might have a low-cost airline going to a similar same destination for less than Delta here or even in Syracuse, because next day they price it accordingly for demand and timeliness.
Mark Hefner tried to explain that, but one of the things that I've come to appreciate when reporting anything about the Binghamton Airport, and this isn't just recently, this has been for decades, you're dealing with some very specific information, whether you focus on enplanements or how many flights a day or how many carriers are serving the airport. And I have to say, the vast majority of people who are hearing the story or reading it at WNBF.com have little real understanding of how the aviation business works.
True.
And it's so complicated. It was even before deregulation. And now the way things, the consolidation in the industry, and Mr. Hefner mentioned just this week's official bankruptcy filing by Spirit, just the way things are in 2024 compared to even 10 years ago doesn't make life easy at all for anybody who is not running a major destination airport. The airlines are in the driver's seat. They have control, and unless you're going to subsidize every aspect of their operation, and I know people criticized what happened with Avello, and yet a fair number of people over a year and a half used that service between Binghamton and Florida. Admittedly, as the county executive said, I think it was wound up being subsidized to the tune of about $50 per flight for everyone who flew on Avello during that that brief time, the county did pony up money so that service was available.
Yeah, and a way to think about it, when people say, oh, well, it might be $50 cheaper to fly out of Elmira. Well, if we're paying anyway, might as well fly out of Binghamton for, paying
absolutely.
$50 more.
What?
And then you don't have to drive.
Well, yeah, you don't have to drive. You don't have to worry about chaos with construction zones now in the Syracuse area and potential mayhem. I'd rather drive from my house up to Mount Ettrick any day and park my vehicle in what I believe is a very safe parking lot, and then come back and get my vehicle and then drive home after I return, and even pay more. Now, some people say, yeah, but not that much more. Hey, I get it. I've seen the numbers. I know what people are talking about. And sometimes I look at comments under a story and get the impression that everybody who reads the story, or in that case saw the video, I just so happened that the Delta flight from Detroit, from DTW, just happened to go past me while I was standing there, and I thought I would put that up on Twitter and Facebook, and I wasn't prepared for the onslaught of negativism, which I should have been. I should, it must be a slow news day, Bob. I didn't say it was a news flash. It's the first time, and probably the only time, that I'll happen to be there as a Delta flight is arriving and getting set to unload the passengers from Detroit and get set to have the people leave. Happy people, by the way, a lot of happy people who arrived here on that flight, and then happy people that I saw getting set to go wherever for the flight to connect in Detroit. But for the people who saw the video, and I honestly, Dave, I just don't understand the rampant negativity, and it's completely apart from just the airport. The negativity that I see with these people who apparently have access to the internet.
Yeah, and I'll be one of the happy people next week at the airport using Delta. And the price was actually cheaper than Elmira and Ithaca, slightly more, maybe like $20 or $40 than Syracuse when I was booking. And one thing that I always suggest people do is don't look for a specific day. Use the calendar on Google Flights, check out what the prices are, compare them with the surrounding, and be like, oh, well, like an example, when I was going overseas one time, if I left the day before from Binghamton, it would have been about $2,000 more for the same ticket. So I left different, the day that it was, to Asia from Binghamton was only $1,300. If I left the day before, it would have been around $36. So it's I think when people are searching and they're looking at a specific day and don't have any flexibility, it could be more difficult. Or if you're looking for the next day, obviously it's going to be a lot more. But like timing is everything. And then for the negativity, positivity, I know I'm disappointed in a lot of things at times, but I'm also excited about quite a few things at times. The improvements at the airport, the improvements in Vessel at Oakdale Mall, even though I think there's some other things that could be done to improve it differently. The improvements are amazing and good for the community, and I look forward to those changes. Skate Estate, same thing. I've been going since I was a kid. Work there. I'm just disappointed in some things, but it's also disappointed in that over the last decade and a half, maybe 20 years, people have used the slides in golf less and less. There's structures for the golf, so people didn't use it as much. But there was so much things. A lot of people were like, wait, there's still a slide there? Or, oh, there is a slide there, that they don't know. And unless people use it.
Well, and I've pointed that out before, whether you're talking about privately operated, say, a family fun center in Vestal, or for that matter, a golf tournament in Endicott, or the Speedy Fest and a balloon rally in the town of Dickinson. All these events, or baseball, hockey, don't just sit it out and stay on your couch playing video games and ordering food from DoorDash, and then when something is gone, say, well, I wonder why that happened. It happens because people take too many things for granted.
Agreed. Yeah, and people I remember in the past I would say when people are like, oh, there's nothing to do here. It's like, there's a lot to do here. And then I would say, did you go to the baseball game last week? Or a few of the games? So like, no, I've already done that this year. Well, that's
the thing. The attitude of, I'm going to do it once per year. Well, I had many discussions with the owner when he came into town and talking about, Mr. Sabatka talking about baseball and owning a team and promotions and trying to figure out a way, especially now that people have unlimited options in terms of home entertainment. How do you actually motivate people to get off the couch, get in their car, and drive 12 minutes and then spend 3 hours or 2.5 hours at a baseball game? How do you actually motivate them to do it? And there's only so much you can do, apart from, offering everybody $50 to show up. But you can't run a business that way.
Exactly. So hopefully, through the winter, and then once the summer season and more events happen, people get out, enjoy the sun, enjoy the events, because there's a lot to do in this area.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
It's 1144 WNBF, WNBF.com, 607-772-1290. I'm Bob Joseph. You're listening to Binghamton Now. 1148, let's see who is on the busy phone right now. DJ in Binghamton, good morning.
Good morning, Bob. The busy phone. By that bumper music, I thought I was in Laos. Speaking of there, I was there this morning on FaceTime ministering and praying with a brother who's over there. He's coming back about the 26th. So the snow is beautiful. I, of course, have been out in it, as have you. I knew I was telling people we're only going to get 2 inches, because the weather was saying, Action News was saying 6 to 12, IBT was saying 4 to 8, and your true Binghamtonian, said 2. That's about what we got out here in Binghamton.
Depends what part of Binghamton. Some places got 2, some got more.
In Binghamton, the whole city got 2. Come on, Bob. You're saying the west side got different from the north side or the south side?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Is that what Dave Nicodemus said earlier when he was on the radio talking? Because I never heard of that.
You heard him. So anyway, the accumulations varied based on specific area and elevation. So, but that's okay. Whether you got 2 or 22. Bottom line is, it's going to be winter, and we're now ready. We are now ready. I visited Recreation Park this morning and had just one fantastic time. I was looking for listeners. I didn't see a single listener. I saw a woman walking her dog.
Were there splitters out there?
She didn't. I don't think she was an NBF listener. I didn't ask her. Maybe she was, and maybe she just thought I was a guy from Action News.
Were the sledding and the snowball throwers?
They don't do it that early. Come on, they're too busy.
Okay.
They're all busy at home smoking weed and drinking hot chocolates.
No, not the sledders. What time were you out there? About 9 o'clock? No, before 9.
About 8:45.
Oh, well, 8:45.
Take a look at the video. Take a look at the video. You could see it on your own phone.
Oh, your video on the W.
Take a look.
WNBF, you got a video on? I will.
No, on Twitter. Binghamton Now on Twitter. Just take a look.
No, I don't.
Facebook. Do you have a Facebook? Take a look on WNBF's Facebook. Look at the video.
I have Facebook.
Well, look at it on WNBF's Facebook.
How come you can't put it on WNBF, the page? The page.
Maybe I will. Because I'm doing a radio show right now.
Oh, well, you can multitask.
Look, I already multitask by putting it on Twitter and Facebook. What do you want me to, Sometimes I got to say, DJ, I do and I do and I do for you kids, and this is the thanks I get.
When you come out at 12 noon, you call me. You got my number, and we'll.
No, I'm not going to call you because I have too much to do. Again, DJ, it's clear to me that you don't even have any idea of what goes on here?
Oh, I have a great idea. But
Yeah.
listen, here's
All right. Who's knocking at the door? Is that the cops again?
No.
What was the pounding? Is everything okay?
I'm a benevolent association. No, there was no pounding.
Well, what was that noise? It sounded like somebody was knocking something. What happened?
The question is, who am I going to throw a snowball at if I don't? I won't throw it at your head or your face.
No, if you throw a snowball anywhere in my direction, there's going to be, as they say in Mar-a-Lago, big trouble. I had to clean that up for broadcast, but you don't throw anything in my direction under any circumstances, even if it's supposed to be funny.
But Bob, no harm shall befall the righteous. It wouldn't hurt.
What is the noise in the background? What is going on there?
I don't know. I think somebody's cooking over here or something.
What are they cooking?
I don't know, but you remember that song? Hey, hey, good looking. What you got cooking? They're cooking something up there, I'm sure.
What are they making? Wings?
The chef in this house, Bob, is so professional and talented. Why?
Well, what is she making?
Little Venice last night, lasagna. There's no she here. Lasagna last night. Lasagna with my 94-year-old ministry partner, my friend. We had a blast. Lasagna.
Well, now I want lasagna. Why do you do that? It's like 7 minutes before noon, and now I want lasagna, but I have a lot of work I have to do for the next hour, so I won't even be able to have lunch.
The thing about that place is the owner's very nice. But the thing about that place, you can't get the lasagna without getting that chocolate brownie they warm it up for you. Bob, last night was wonderful. And for the snow forecast, a lot of people came there to the Little Venice.
Well, of course. It's not like this isn't Miami. This is Binghamton. We don't let the snow stop us.
Some people do. Nobody's out now. It's only 2 inches and nobody's even out.
They're not out now because they're too busy listening to the program.
Oh, well, that's good. Hey,
Yeah.
Shout out to Paul. He listens. BOCES is off, so school's off. So shout out to my friend Paul, Morgan, Rachel. They're all listening.
Why is school off, by the way?
School's off because they're what they call in my neighborhood scared. They're scared to drive buses. They're scared to, you know what I mean? And plus, the children need a break. The
children don't need a break. They're about to get a break for Thanksgiving. See, my theory, and I know the good thing is no school superintendents are listening, so I can say this on the air. My theory is that everybody, administrators, teachers, and kids, all conspired because they wanted a 3-day weekend.
The best thing about the public school system is that they lay the little lambs lay their hands on their hearts and they say one nation under God.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Have a good weekend.
Forget about it.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God. You know, we're having fun. We're dedicated to having fun. But the greatest thing about public education, in my opinion, is you take in Broome County, tens of thousands of kids every September from all sorts of different backgrounds. Some were born here. Some are recent arrivals. Some, dare I say, are not fluent in English. So you take people with a wide array of backgrounds. Some are quite well off, and some are desperately poor. Some are homeless. I mean, some are living in hotels. So you take these young children in September and you work diligently with them and their parents and guardians. And between September and June, you teach them a lot of stuff. And you prepare them for life in America. And it's just amazing what the public school system does. I say it's a daily miracle. If you look at what goes on in our public schools in Broome and Tioga counties and the surrounding counties, it's a miracle. And thank goodness for the Department of Education, because without the U.S. Department of Education, a lot of that could never happen. So we commend the people, the public educators, those who are working in private schools, everybody in our education system. Thank you for teaching our young people how to live in America. Good morning, WNBF. You're on the air. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
This is Carol from JC, and how many seconds do I have? I have something important to say.
Okay,
speak
homeless. Fast.
Last night, I went out to put my car in my garage for the first time because I cleaned all the junk out. It took me months and weeks and hours. And so I went out driving around. So I closed up Wegmans at midnight, and then I went and returned a DVD at Binghamton Public Library. So it was about 12:30 because I left Wegmans, 5 after 12, whatever. Guess what I saw in the front of the front door, sort of enclosed behind a post, a lady in a wheelchair. A lady in a wheelchair. I thought I was seeing things. What the heck is that all about? I couldn't believe it. I didn't know if I should call the police or somebody, not social services at that hour. But so, what is your opinion about what I saw?
Based on the amount of information, I have no opinion. I was there at Wegmans earlier, but she wasn't there, so I have no opinion. Hey, we're out of time. Hope you have a good.
Binghamton Public Library.
I know. Well, what can I say? We're completely out of time. I hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you. You as well.
And I hope everybody has a good weekend. My thanks to those who've listened this week and those who've called. I'm Bob Joseph. This has been Binghamton Now. Have a great weekend. I'll be back Monday morning from 9 to noon right here on WNBF.